The Kabul airport, where U.S. troops are scrambling to fly Americans and allies out of the country. At least 3,200 diplomats and civilians have been evacuated from Afghanistan on military flights so far. But anyone trying to get to the airport has to pass through Taliban checkpoints, and not everyone's getting through. Meanwhile, the Taliban is promising a general amnesty for all U.S. allies in Afghanistan. One senior leader saying now is the time to forgive and that they are not seeking revenge. But the U.S., the EU, and at least 19 other countries now say in a joint statement they are, quote, deeply worried about Afghan women and girls and their rights and freedoms. Our senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is in Kabul with the latest. Hi, Ian.
Diane, that Taliban press conference was totally surreal and bizarre. This time last week, we were talking about the Taliban having taken 9 provincial capitals and how serious the situation was looking on the ground. Today, they're holding press conferences. They're in the process of establishing a government and trying to run the country. It was odd because you saw the Taliban spokesman come down the stairs to a sort of hushed auditorium, which was very first 21st century, but a lot of the guys coming down the stairs there have views which are centuries old. This was really a PR offensive by the Taliban to try and convince us that they are going to have much better views on women, that they're going to treat the civilians well. There's a general amnesty. They said that women are going to be able to take their place in work, in education, according to Islam, without providing any specifics of what that would mean. Someone asked a question, will women be forced to wear burqas? Will men be forced to grow beards, as was the case the last time they were in power? He said, well, we haven't quite decided that yet. So, look, the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating. People are rightly sceptical because the Taliban's record is terrible. They have been seen torturing, executing prisoners, their enemies. They've been seen, I mean, the last time they were in power, women had 0 rights. Women couldn't even leave the house without being accompanied by a brother or a father, a male member of the family. They weren't allowed to go to most places of work. They certainly weren't allowed into higher education or into high school. So they have a lot to prove. People are skeptical, and there is really an air of sadness and darkness here in Kabul. Even just anecdotally, here in the hotel, the young Hazara women who were working on reception, who I was chatting to, because I've been here a few times, they're asking me how I am, how is the family, we exchange pleasantries. Today, they've gone. The music that plays in the lobby has stopped. And so I think people are very wary exactly what the Taliban are going to do, whether actually we're just going to be back at least 20 years, and for women, back 200 years. We've just been down to the airport this morning, and I have to say, although we're seeing a fairly orderly system now in place inside the military compound, which is controlled by the Americans, you only have to step 5 yards outside there to see the hundreds, the thousands of people desperately clamoring to try and get through that Taliban checkpoint and get to those flights. Many of them, of course, have legitimate claims. They are eligible for flights, but the Taliban aren't letting them through, and their response on the ground is brutal. It's offensive. They're threatening. They're firing automatic weapons over the heads of the crowd repeatedly. I mean, we had this period of 1.5 minutes of constant gunfire. I almost thought there was a gun battle going on, but they were just firing over the crowds to try and push them back. They're using sticks to beat people. They're pointing guns in people's faces. So this is not orderly by any stretch of the imagination. It's desperate, and people are clutching papers in little plastic folders, thrusting them towards us like we can assist them to get through. They're desperate for anyone to help them, and there isn't a system in place. The Americans say that they're talking to the Taliban. Well, that may well be the case right at the gate, but there's no system to get the Afghans or the Americans, who are now entitled to get on those flights from their homes to the airport. The U.S. State Department has said very clearly they have to make their own way there. Well, I can tell you, as a seasoned journalist, it was really scary down there, and we were able to jump in our vehicles and get out of there. For the Afghans, it's truly terrifying. Diane?
All right, Ian Pannell in Kabul. Ian, stay safe.